Nintendo announced this week that there is this is available for pre-purchase expansion pass, that you'll get 3 new treasure chests that will appear on the Great Plateau the minute you buy this thing. One of those chests, they said, contains a Switch logo shirt that Link can wear during the adventure. Very random. And then the promise of 2 other deliveries. The first content pack, which would come out this summer, will include the addition of a Cave of Trials challenge, a new hard mode, and a new feature for the in-game map. And then the second expansion pack will launch holiday 2017, adds new challenges that will let players enjoy a new dungeon, a new original story. And the new challenge was part of that. One thing to point out before we move on is that you can buy this for Switch or Wii U, but you have to buy the pass to get both. They are not sold individually.
And you can purchase that now?
You can. When this was announced, it wasn't up for pre-order, but now you can actually get it on Amazon. Obviously, you can't buy it on a Switch till you get a Switch.
Right.
Oh, if you were trying to go through that delivery system.
Yeah, originally I saw it said it was available on March 3rd. I guess they meant that it's active, but so you can already buy it.
So you can buy it from like the eShop.
And how much is it again?
$20. Thanks for catching that. $20, and this is what you're getting. So we've seen Nintendo present, DLC in this manner with Mario Kart. We had hey, they spelled out, we're doing these tracks, we're doing carts, we're doing pieces, things like that. But this one is a lot more vague, I feel.
Yeah, did they announce a Mario Kart DLC at the very start?
No, they waited till after the game came out. That's a great point.
Right, and so the difference here, and what explains some of the reaction, is that I think some fans thought like Nintendo was the last bastion of a game developer that doesn't say thank you for your money and we want more money next week, right? And to be clear, that's not what's happening here. It's not like they have this feature developed that they're holding for a week and then you have to pay extra for it. I mean, they definitely have more of a rollout plan like they have with Mario Kart, but because it's a single player game, I think they tell you right away, it's like, don't get rid of your game once you finish the single player.
One of all the companies too that charge for season passes, I feel like they've been upfront to folks saying that, or an understanding and letting people know that, look, we're not cutting things from the main game, but that's hard on some folks when you're saying a new hard mode, because does that mean there is no hard mode in the Zelda Breath of the Wild that you're buying at launch?
I think that was a stinger for some people, because that's we've gotten stuff like that and the Cave of Trials, those type of modes, pre-baked into Zelda games in the past. They're there when you buy the standard issued version of the game. I think that obviously DLC is just like it's a gross term to a lot of people. Season passes are gross terms to a lot of people, but they're not inherently bad things.
Well, vocal people, maybe not a lot of people. Like that's the difference, right?
I mean, I think the Paris point and what we all continue to suffer through, it's like it's hard to attach value and understanding. I think that is the issue. Because like honestly, when I heard it, I thought, oh cool, DLC. My expectation
for Zelda, which is unique, right?
Yeah,
so I was like,
happen?
so here's what I thought I was going to look at. Oh, cool. There's like a new temple and there's a blah, blah, blah that's going to be coming out. And then it was like costumes and a harder mode. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not saying that it's not worth the $20. We'd have to see it, but wasn't what I expected. Okay, you know what I mean?
Well, it's because, first of all, let's address the elephant in the room, is the t-shirt is dumb.
Yeah,
like
that you can wear in game. You don't actually get a real one.
It's a T-shirt that breaks that fourth wall. That like you're not getting an amazing outfit like the golden armor or something. You're literally getting a promotional T-shirt.
So I think that Nintendo Switch. Hear me out here, but I think the Nintendo Switch logo is like it's obtuse and weird enough that could fit in the Zelda universe as like a tunic with a cool design on it. Yeah. But if he just shows up with like Nintendo Switch available in stores March 3rd, then that's kind of weird.
You
like
know he's going. He's not going to have the slogan.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be like the Mercedes or whatever that showed up in Mario Kart.
I don't mind the playfulness, actually. I think it's more about what Paris' point was, which is you would, for $20 additional, which is almost half the price of the game, you would expect an amazing armor set. So I do think that's... are there more details to come? Or
these were incredibly vague details, and we'll probably get an answer when Bill's on the mic later, but it may point to the reality that this is in development. I mean, that was the story when Mario Kart 8 announced DLC. I remember that they were not very specific on what tracks were getting remade, just that we're going to have additional cups and there'll be 8 additional courses with each pack. Yeah. But I still feel like you had a more tangible sense of what those things were.
There's a lot of people who are upset about it, even though if you, in retrospect, the Mario Kart 8 DLC is some of the best DLC we've ever seen in video games. It's significantly expanded the depth and content of that game.
Oh, and on this show, we have said, like, if Nintendo goes ahead and says, all right, we're making Zelda Breath of the Wild the biggest map we've ever done with this very open sort of idea of discovery and finding things, and it was a one and done.
Yeah.
Like how disappointing would that have been? And this is already a game that you're going to play for so many hours. So I feel like knowing that there's more coming to it is a good thing.
So I'll do the old guy thing again, where I say there's precedence
really
for this,
good at
right?
it. Yeah.
There is precedence for this. It was called the Ocarina of Time, and Nintendo before the game was out said there will be a 64DD add-on disc
Right.
that will remix the game, and you will be able to play it again in a Master Quest or Harder Quest where everything's changed. So what we don't know about this DLC is what this harder mode is, or what this map feature is, or is the t-shirt used for anything else, right? Like it could become this thing that you put on when you're doing speed runs, and it becomes this thing in a lot of videos where Link with his new t-shirt is doing speed runs. The map feature could point to something that's a scavenger hunt, something you have to find in the game, or some other way of exploring something that you didn't know there that was in the game before. And then the hard mode could be more significant than just taking more damage from an enemy, right? Like a hard mode, that's the kind of thing where I would feel bad. Like it doesn't feel like it's that hard for the developer to implement at launch, and if that was just delayed to be value for DLC, I would feel bad about that. But if this hard mode is something more significant like Master Quest, that would be.
You could also make the argument, though, that this game, and especially in the way this world is designed, is kind of hard enough as it is. I mean, we've seen enemies in this world where they take a swipe at you and 8 hearts go missing.
Right.
And we're talking about like. It's hard to really gauge what this all means, and I agree with you. If there isn't a hard mode, like it's difficult to make a determination on value. And I think, I wrote about this week in an op-ed, but it's strange to me, and it didn't occur to me until this DLC, and I do think we're going to see a lot more DLC from Nintendo on Switch. I think that this has been a trajectory they have been going for a while.
Right.
I think that on their financials, they have noticed that the games with DLC have been doing better, especially on a download like sort of sales perspective. But I do see... God, I lost my point where we were building.
Yeah.
I always start building this temple and then I get lost in the middle of it.
You've got such grand plans, Jose.
But I mean, think about it. But like, I get excited if I think about what these things could mean. Like, what a hard mode could also mean, that every enemy was like this wimpy bokoblin before that you meet right off the bat actually wears armor or something. Like something significantly changed about your experience.
So I got my point. My point is that developers have been making and selling DLC for years.
Yeah.
And yet there is still not a standard of expectation for what DLC is after a game comes out.
Yeah.
I feel like you have different versions of this, and the ones that were reacted to negatively dominate the conversation so much that the ones that do well are forgotten or ignored, or just in the moment no one's thinking about, well, it could also be that. Like, why not play both sides instead of just picking one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to do the same thing that Pear was just doing. Like, there's the other side of the story, which is actually, right, this is probably the biggest Zelda game yet. They've put a ton of time into it, as we understand. From the looks of it, it looks amazing. Meaning you could argue they've already added so much to the game already. Meaning, how do you put a $60 price tag on something? That's already hard enough. And so, meaning we don't know what's coming. But I would also add that Nintendo doesn't have some big history of like, oh, it's just going to cost you $20 for some costumes.
Right.
There are plenty of people who do that. So Nintendo, to be fair, right, they don't normally do that. And I think that's what Pear's getting at. They do really value the customer's time and money. Now, we hope they're not going down some new road, right? And I think that's what I think you're getting at.
I think they are, but I do think that it will be I'm hoping that it will be along the lines of still taking into account what is valuable to the consumer and what makes sense. What can we make after the game is done, not what are we cutting before the game is out, which is the constant struggle.
It is designed for people who have finished the game. It's like you finished the game, you walked away, the story is over.
It's not for Marty.
We're going to do this thing to the game that's going to get you back in. And that's what excites me. Like, it could be a significant new experience.
So here's my issue with all of this, and I'm excited for it. I'm going to buy it.
There are going to be cars in it.
Oh, no, I got a better solution.
And airplanes.
Good. The timing of it is odd, and I'll tell you why. I've already spent $130 on this game. I bought the Master Edition, and there was no talk of DLC.
I thought Andrew bought the Master Edition, and you're just buying his sword.
No. I'm buying it off of him. He got the pre-order. I got the special edition. Either way, we're lost in the grass.
I didn't know you were paying all that.
You're in the tall grass. You need a sword to get out.
Got it.
So the special edition's $100. The Master Edition's $130. That's all well and good. I had no problem buying that because it comes with a bunch of cool stuff. But the timing of announcing the expansion pack DLC season pass type thing as $20 afterwards is a little odd, because now I'm baking that into the cost of the other things, and it would just been nice to have all of that grouped in at the same time.
But then they would have had to announce it sooner. And I do think that this was a thing they should have just waited for after the game was out.
I agree.
Versus saying it right now.
Wait, would you have paid for the Ultra Master Edition?
Yes, of course.
The $150 or whatever?
Of course, and I'll still buy those things piecemeal, but I
you
just
would
think
have liked to know at the time.
Yeah. It's odd that like the Master Edition doesn't necessarily net you all of the content as well, you know?
Maybe they hadn't decided on the
possible.
timing, or maybe they were worried about
I mean,
announcing it
retailers
because of the
that stuff early,
I think
right?
it's that.
Yeah.
I think they maybe were a little concerned. Like, you don't want that to interfere with the Switch messaging and just the game.
Yeah.
Now they're close enough and the pre-orders are in. So
Let's not forget they just came up for air after completing this massive game and the hardware, and they probably said, "All right, we're gonna send this team off now to work on add-on content," and then it's like, "Oh, let's announce it."
And there's just like a lot of toxicity and negativity about that in general. But I don't think it's entirely warranted all the time, because games statistically are cheaper than they've almost ever been. I mean, I was buying N64 games for $90.
Yeah, but retail games aren't, and I think that's still the sticking point for folks, right? That everything still has a set price, and everything costs $60. Even though some games could get away with, we can charge $80 technically, thinking how many hours you invest in it.
Yeah.
I mean, Fran and I play a ton of Destiny.
Yeah.
If you added the cost value to play ratio, it was a steal,
if I'm paying
right?
per hour, exactly.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's,
even
it's
like
kind of,
I
but
bought-
there is no math equation.
Yeah,
to
and it
sort of
shouldn't
make
be
sense.
that way.
It shouldn't be
right?
that
But
way.
to your point, sorry, you were going to say.
No, I mean, I bought the Battlefront season pass 2 years ago, right? Year and a half ago. And that gave me a content drop pretty much 5 times, I believe it was, every quarter, plus some extra free stuff. And I ended up putting like 150 hours into that game, and I spent $150 on it. And $1 an hour is nothing to, have fun with a video game. So I think with something like this, I'm going to spend probably 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 hours playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. And if this expands that even further, I'm okay with it. I do agree the messaging is a little strange in terms of like the Switch t-shirt and other things, but I have faith in it.
There's there's another example of this happening in the games industry where the developers of The Witcher 3 announced DLC, and previously before the game came out, they talked a lot about all this free download stuff that you're getting. And
That's right.
by the way, you got a lot of free content for The Witcher 3, and it was good.
The entire item system in that game. at one point.
And it got updated. Exactly, the menus were overhauled, and then they announced the paid DLC, and there were definitely a lot of people who freaked out and said, "Hey, you promised us free stuff. Now you're charging for stuff. This is ridiculous." And there were a lot of angry voices until people played the DLC.
Yeah.
Because the DLC was great, right? Like
that's right.
Blood and Wine, for example, the just really cool stories that expanded the universe. And you could have played The Witcher and gotten over 100 hours of playtime easily, but then you could have spent a couple more bucks, kept the game, and played more. And I'm hoping that we're ending up in this direction. But you just can't tell from
why
the
do people
announcement.
latch so
and the
hard?
T-shirt didn't help.
Why do people latch so hard onto the sort of the poorer examples of execution? Like, why does everyone have to suffer just because there were the few that messed up? That's the thing that I don't understand.
Because it costs money.
Yeah,
Like
I was gonna say,
anytime
asking for more money is the problem. Like, that's the point. They already made the game for you, but they're like, there are some extras, but you're gonna have to pay for them. It's like, right, when you're trying to buy a car or whatever, the add-ons, and they always feel a little dirty. It's like, why doesn't air conditioning come with it? Why don't I just get seriously a T-shirt? That's a great example. That shouldn't be a selling point.
Book a flight, buy a concert ticket, get an iPhone. Literally everything you do, nickel and dimes you all the way to the finish line. So I think people are just hesitant. They're like, but games should have been that one thing I spend $60 on and I have everything in there. And it's like, well, not necessarily.
It's whatever the status quo is. When you change it, people will be upset. And DLC is still something that's fairly new. In mobile games, I mean, look how many people were upset over Mario Run, for example, right? Which was more of a traditional price model of a handheld game at $10, right?
Yeah, and on the flip side, people were upset that you could unlock everything for $10 and the Nintendo wasn't making enough money. Like, investors were pissed off. They're like, they should have been $1.99
when
a level.
people get upset, the investors, let it go. The investor doesn't care about you. The investor wants to get paid.
They care about the money.
Stop. Just stop it. No.
But that's don't feel bad for businesses, except for ours. Subscribe, share, thumbs up, all that.
Yep.
No, but it's like anytime money is involved, people are going to have reactions to it, and I think that's fine. And like, if a product is shallow and you paid for something that ultimately didn't deliver, like, you want to share that. It's harder to do though, because when we when we experience a product, somebody may play for a week, somebody for 2 weeks, 3 months, and there's not this kind of shared experience where you can all talk about it. And so that's where when news breaks like something like that, everybody can talk about it at the same time, and so you're going to get a lot of those opinions all bundled together.
Sure.
I wouldn't react too strongly about some people being negative about it. It's they may not be the people who are actually buying this game as well. They may just be voicing their concern over DLC in general.
No, and I've also seen plenty of positives. I've seen folks, like, I feel like it was right down the middle. You had folks who were definitely opposed and will always be opposed to what DLC is, and then you had folks on the other side going, wait, there's more to Zelda? And I feel like that's our reaction at this table.
Few people say I want to pay more money. Like, few people will say that, right?
But I was going to say that is the that's the silver lining. Is you want to look at this as if this is successful for Nintendo. More DLC is a good thing if they're actively developing, meaning really bonus add-on content. Like, imagine they support Breath of the Wild for the next 2 years. That's a world I want to live in. When I only get a Zelda game every 4 or 5 years, that would be awesome. So maybe that's the silver lining. I don't know.
But I do think that this does reach a point where, okay, then with Splatoon 2 specifically, that is a game where the first Splatoon really did have a ton of free stuff, and you've kind of set this precedent of, to an extent, that this game grew and evolved over time because you supported it with free maps, you supported it with free weapons. And I think eventually Splatoon did charge you for something. They did find a way to charge something after they finished all the free content. But I think with Splatoon 2, like, I just wonder how they're going to handle that, because DLC is going to be a part of that game. Like, there's no way that
that's why I think it's a little odd that Zelda fans are pissed off at Nintendo for the season pass, but then something like Mario Kart 8 Plus, which literally just adds battle mode and a couple of other things, people are like, bring it on, I can't wait. I mean, that's $60 for a game that we all bought. I bought DLC for.
Yeah, but I think you're underestimating that battle mode. Like, I bet you are going to be smitten with that battle mode.
I will be, but it also should have been there day one.
Yeah, but that game shipped and is gone, and it got its regular racing DLC like courses. I think I mark my words, Brian Altano, unless you go completely rogue on me because I'm saying this. I bet you when that game comes out, you will be excited about that.
Of course, I'm not going to deny that right now.
Tweeting about it on an airplane.
Of course,
I
bought Wi-Fi just to do that.
You're saying there's not comparatively there's not as much anger over the fact that you're rebuying it.
We are going to see a ton of Wii U games upported to Switch. And there's going to be very little sort of murmur about that being a bad thing. But when somebody adds a $20 value to a $60 game,
wait, but hang on. When The Last of Us comes out 6 months after the fact on PS4, after 6 months into PS4's launch, The Last of Us came out. I didn't hear anyone bat an eye. The example that was used, in fact, was, well, a bunch of people bought PS4s, didn't buy The Last of Us. Why?
I know.
Well, then why isn't that the same thing?
I think there was definitely a very loud group of people saying, like, why don't I get this for free? Especially because Sony specifically has a precedent of, on PS4 on day one, I had a bunch of games that I could download that I bought on PS3.
No, that's true.
Those saves get carried. I mean, those downloads get carried over.
But with these remasters, which have happened on other platforms, there is sort of the expectation that, well, if you've already played this game and have already had it, you don't buy. This isn't really for you. This is for someone else who didn't own that thing, and that's going to be the case with Switch if this thing takes off. 8 million install or whatever, 8 million sold, 8 million copies of Mario Kart 8 sold as of last financials, which is a crazy attach rate when you think about like 13, 14 million Wii U's in the world. But if the Nintendo Switch has this bigger audience play and it works, there's going to be a lot of new customers who Mario Kart is a great.
And very specifically with The Last of Us, 70% of PS4 owners hadn't played that game.
That was the number. I remember.
Yeah, and that was a big number. And I think that, like, if Nintendo can get that level, right, of bringing in people who are lapsed Nintendo fans, new Nintendo fans, that's huge, and that's something they want to go for. But for someone like me who bought all those games 2 years ago, I'm sitting there and I will buy them again, as I've said many times on the show.
I wonder if they'll put DLC to Mario Kart as well. Like, I just wonder if
more track packs.
Possible.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, back to Splatoon. I actually think Splatoon's DLC is going to be free, and I think that's how they upsell you on the somewhat bitter pill that you have to pay for online. Right?
That's it.
They need Mario Kart and Splatoon to drive their online plan and sign people up. And also, Splatoon 2 comes out pretty close to Splatoon 1. Like, I don't think they had enough time yet to build all these levels. I do think that they want to buy themselves a little bit more time to give you more value for the base price over time. So I think they'll replicate the first Splatoon's rollout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to segue from what you were getting at earlier, which is, can we at least all agree, though, the way they announced it might be the problem, which is, the first thing I did when I saw the trailer I was like, please Nintendo, never have a trailer without footage in it again. That was absurd to me. Like I saw the headline on IGN, I watched it, and it's like, hello everybody, we're announcing some new details, and it was like, where's the
well, because but isn't that good? That means they haven't made it yet.
No, but it's
At
worse
least they're not,
by the
they're
point
not holding
is,
it back.
They're telling you to what we were discussing earlier. It's $20 for a new hard mode. What does that mean? We wouldn't have a show today. We couldn't speculate without that mystery, but it is a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Like if they said every temple's going to get turned upside down, I'd be like, boom, I'm in for $20, Majora's Mask. But you get the point. It could be amazing, but because we don't know, we're all pissed until we do know and see something. Come on.
And companies like Rocksteady and Bethesda have gotten in hot water in the past for doing the same thing. They sell a season pass. They incentivize you to be there day one, but you don't necessarily know what you're actually buying into.
Fallout
Bethesda
did that. I
specifically,
think Batman did that too.
Bethesda had a discount for pre-purchasing the season pass before you even actually knew what was in it, before you saw a single screenshot. And I think for this, I mean, luckily, like if you're going to put faith in a developer, Bethesda's a pretty good one to back. Rocksteady has a good track record. Nintendo especially.
Just wait though. You can buy it when it's out.
Well, that's
seriously.
Yeah, but then you get a treasure chest on day one.
Nintendo doesn't need a Kickstarter though. Like seriously, just wait. You have to wait. You get a bonus for ordering it early.
Yeah, day one.
You have 4 treasure chests
Day
on the
one.
Great Plateau.
This is exactly
So on
what
March
I'm saying.
3rd,
Three.
No.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I need to understand,
Yep.
because it's going to be real talk here. So
3
on
new treasure
March
chests.
3rd, do we expect to know more about what we're getting?
You
I
expect
don't
to
think
open
you're
3
getting
treasure
that.
chests in
You'll
Legend of Zelda
So they're
Breath of the Wild.
incentivizing you to fund and or buy something without telling you more.
Yes.
That's stupid.
departure
That's
from Mario Kart.
legitimately
Yeah.
a little unethical in my opinion. Like, and they're not the only ones to do it, but like, you're baiting gamers who love your franchise to buy something, and you're like, but I can't tell you what it is yet.
You have a vague set of details.
Like,
That's
what's
not the
a new
same
hard
thing.
mode?
What? You have a vague set of details.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Not the same
Had it
thing as
been,
what?
we're doing 2 season packs. We're not telling you what's in them. Implicitly, I'd see your point. I don't agree because I feel like I did get something. I'm getting an original story. I'm getting an extra dungeon. I'm getting these additional challenges, which, to be fair, I don't know what those are. I don't know what new hard mode is. I also think that the first pack is a lot lighter than the second pack. I think the second pack is going to be the one everyone's going to be talking about.
I'm not saying it's not necessarily enough details, but it is vague. And I just think
super
I
vague.
agree.
People's
Hence the
money
reaction.
is super important. Some people only can buy one thing a year.
Agree.
I just don't like it's pretty tough. Like if you love Zelda, what if that's your one game? That Switch, it's your one thing, and now you're like, crap, I'm just going to spend the 20, but that might be really hard for you to do.
I think that's fair.
I just think that's a tough line to walk.
I think what eases it a bit is the track record of the company making it. Like that's what
I
it
think
comes.
Yes.
that's it.
This is like they're more of a Gracie, less of a crazy red, if you know what I'm talking
Well, you're
about.
on the hook, Nintendo.
Like, it's, like you can. I don't want to say put blind faith into publishers, but Nintendo and Zelda historically really good track record, and also Zelda DLC. Which we saw in Hyrule Warriors was really well done, and I felt provided a great value to extend the length of that game.
The only time we saw Nintendo charge what I consider a little extra was with Smash Brothers and some of those characters. But there was a lot bundled in. There was a little more subtle. First of all, you had not just a character IP. Like, for example, if you bought Ryu, you're not just getting Ryu, you're getting a stage dedicated Ryu. You're getting special music added to that as well.
And you guys are playing the Fire Emblem now, right? On mobile.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
do you feel like you're getting a good value in terms of the DLC in that game? I mean, because you're buying things, that's a lot more sort of like...
you mean Fates or do you mean the mobile game?
Actually,
Mobile
right,
game.
that is that's a great thing to bring up because I've totally bought some stuff on like microtransaction stuff on
bought
Fire
ours.
Emblem.
Do you feel like you're getting your money's worth? Or
no, but I'm still going to do it. And I was going to point out that I, full disclosure, am the type of person, like I would buy like a solid gold Link tunic for whatever, $15. Like don't do that, Nintendo. But I'm the stupid person who will do that.
Stop it. You're ruining it for all of us.
Well, cups of coffee in San Francisco cost like $6.50. So like you know what I mean?
Stop it. You're ruining it for all of us.
But my point is, yes, full disclosure, there are people out there I think that are fine doing it. I think that's fine. But on the other side, again, there's people who they really need to make that decision. I just feel like they could have provided more in the rollout plan.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I'm with you
So
on
you
that
know
part.
what you're getting.
I feel
I
like
am
with
with
this
you on
game, the decision is easily made in that, like Brian said, you know the developer's pedigree. You go back and you're like, you played Link Between Worlds, and when it ended, were you sad or relieved? Do you want to keep that game? If you want to keep that game, you probably want more of that game.
Yeah.
And so that governs my decision. I actually did not pre-buy the Witcher DLC. I didn't buy it in advance or anything, or decide on buying it. It was like once I knew more about it, I wanted it. The instant reward here makes it a little bit more complicated, but
Well, what I wanted to end on though is that just wait. If you're sitting at home going, they haven't said enough, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think those 3 treasure chests are going to save your life or change your life.
There's probably
They might
nothing.
improve your hearts.
That's what I'm saying.
there
They
may
could
be
save
but,
your life.
But they probably
Swipe an amiibo. I'm sure you have plenty, and they're not doing much.
But
right
I think
now.
the treasure chest will not contain something that you can't get any other way.
Right.
Well,
Right.
except
It's
for that
not.
Okay.
Which-
It's not an
If-
exclusive item except for a T-shirt.
Okay, well that's a good point actually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.